Hello there, Spartans, and welcome back to some more Total War Rome Remastered for you wonderful people. Now today the video is a little different from actual gameplay of Rome Remastered, but fear not, there is plenty more of that to come in the next few weeks. But today, instead, I want to share some pretty exciting developments within the actual game itself that have come about over the last couple of days. So as with all early access titles that content creators receive, it's always the case that for those few weeks before the game is launched, many patches, updates and fixes are applied to the game's code, of which we are always then communicated to as to what they actually are. So after I recorded my Sparta walkthrough gameplay, by the way, thanks very much for all the support on that one so far, Soslaw, Feral Interactive, the developers behind the game, released a new update with a couple of pretty significant changes. Changes that are ultimately being influenced by the community feedback since the game's announcement last week. So before we take a look at these, I just wanted to say this is pretty reassuring and very positive to see that this kind of action is being taken by the devs, as it shows they care, obviously, and they're open for feedback and want to do what they can in order to make Rome Total War Remastered as good as it really can be. To kick things off, we'll take a look at the colour vibrancy within the units. Now, classic Rome Total War was always known for its bright, elaborate and to a point over-saturated colours. I mean, take these guys for example, the wonderful pink pyjama warriors of Parthia, and basically the remastered version reflects this again. So you may have already seen this, as it has been a part of the options from the first build, and other YouTubers would have shown you this undoubtedly, but within the menu, Feral Interactive have included this unit colour scheme setting, which allows you to switch between vibrant and realistic colours. So you can see here I've showcased some Greek units with the two variants, and of course tell me in the comments which one you prefer between the two. And as you can see, certain colours on clothing looks more washed out on the realistic setting, along with alterations as well to certain colours on the shields for example. Now looking at the two, for me personally, I'm probably going to stick with the vibrant one for this, because I just like how the colours pop out more with this setting. So what they've also done in the latest update is applied a fix to help improve the high number of pale looking units for certain factions by implementing an improvement to Mediterranean units now having more tanned skin. Now a big one for me, this is really quite big and that you probably won't be aware of as it's only just been implemented into the game on Friday, is the ability to now adjust campaign map vibrancy with a slider between 0 and 100%. So you can choose what setting you want between those two numbers. Now of course this is subject to change, and alteration will still occur with this setting in future updates until the release of the game. But this is something that the community have been quite vocal about since seeing their first share of gameplay last week, and so to see the developers adding this feature into the game because of player feedback is extremely promising to see, as it makes you wonder what else they can try and improve and update upon in the future, and one of those we'll talk about in a few minutes time. And on the screen you can see the settings that I've changed the vibrancy to give you a good idea of the different levels available to you and how they look actually on the screen. So one is at 100%, so you can see the grass is very green here and the colours are popping out on the campaign map, which seem to be where the complaints are coming from. If you compare that to sort of Rome 2 or Attila's campaign map for example. Then you've got 50%, and then finally at 0% vibrancy, with the colours now looking again a lot more washed out and greyer than they were on the 100% setting. Now again, let me know your thoughts on this, and looking at the three on the screen, I'd probably go for around 50 or maybe a little higher at 60 to 65% potentially. But yeah, do let me know which setting you will prefer on your own gameplay. Now, family trees have been improved upon as well, and again, this is the first iteration of the changes, and this too has been reported will be worked upon further up until release. Now, as I showed you in my Sparta playthrough, the family tree was originally, in the remastered, essentially split up per character, where you would see that character's parents, wife and children, and you would click on another character and it would then open up an identical layout, but for that character's connections as well. And I for one didn't mind it. It was compact, easy to digest, and didn't clutter the screen. However, I did think, where was the old full expanded family tree? And I mustn't have been the only one who has asked this, as it's now been added in. The full screen variant is now back in all of its glory, and as you can see, your whole dynasty is again now on one page with a nice colour changing background depending on your faction that you're playing as. So you'll now have both options available to select which one you prefer on the faction overview screen. Now, my next focus is on the AI improvements and population cost balancing, which has been added to the modifiers list again in this latest update. And I did scan over this in my last video, and I feel what I said was actually incorrect. Now, I know that's never happened before, has it? But the population cost balancing mechanic is actually quite important, and it's really good to see that they've put this in as an improvement, and it can really help with your enjoyment of the game, especially late game, in the way that the AI interacts with the population and recruitment depending on the size you have selected for your unit size in the options menu. For example, small, large, ultra, etc. unit sizes. Now, in the original game, the unit size wasn't normalized, so the larger the unit size selected, the more unbalanced the population levels can become, as the larger unit sizes, like Extreme for example, mean you empty your settlements of people, preventing you and the AI from upgrading your settlements to higher tiers. So in the original, this effect caused the campaign map to be full of lower tier armies, even towards the late game, as most factions would never allow the population to get high enough to upgrade to higher tiers or have excess population on lower tiers. So with the remaster, this option will normalise the population costs, so the balance of the recruitment costs against the population requirements to upgrade settlements is no longer affected by the choice of your unit size in the 3D battles. So this means the gameplay experience remains balanced no matter what the quality of your PC is or the visual size that you like your armies to look. So there has been more AI improvements to the remastered version than I first actually thought. Again, looking at the modifiers alterations, they've been enhanced further with a new option available to tweak the campaign AI. So as I've shown you before, you've got the choice of Classic and Remastered. So if you were to go for Classic, obviously the AI behaviour is identical to the original release. But if you go for the Remastered, you can see here the AI will be less hesitant and more aggressive across all difficulties. Now, this is a campaign AI, by the way. The AI can merge depleted units together. The AI can disband units better. Now, the Roman factions cooperate with each other to defend Rome from attack. The map visibility of Roman factions will change once civil war breaks out between them. And in Barbarian Invasion, the DLC for the game, the AI will demolish temples they can't improve upon when capturing a settlement. So these things have been enhanced further. These things were not in the classic game. So they've worked upon this and given a bit more life to the campaign AI, especially this one. The AI will be less hesitant and more aggressive across all difficulties. So as well, in the screenshot by the developers here, it does shed some light as to where they are wanting to go with the improvements in battle AI as well. So it says here, there was a conscious decision to keep the original engine. We wanted the remaster to remain true to Rome 1, and the engine is integral to how the game feels. Obviously that's going to be the case, but we have made some substantial efforts where possible to fix known issues or add complementary optional systems. We have spent considerable time understanding the original code base to ensure the changes made were compatible and complementary to the original and its design intentions. With respect to battle AI, we've improved specific self-contained behavior and made small incremental improvements to the overall experience while avoiding side effects. We know where there is a long list of AI behaviors that many of you might want to address, so this will be something we'll be monitoring and taking into consideration. So obviously, again, future hopefully support with this in mind. Some examples of areas we've investigated are phalanx formation realignment, which is something I mentioned about before, the getting that formation to not be as uncohesive as it can be on occasions, tower and walls pathing, and sediment breach point pathing. So that's the AI pathing in the game. So it looks like they are tweaking things that they can, and as it says there, monitoring things that have been mentioned about before, while looking at that for future improvements, hopefully. So finally, I wanted to wrap things off and show to you a couple of posts that were made about the future of the game, and there will hopefully be a lot of support, as I just mentioned, post-release to keep the game's replayability at a good level for newer players. Now, the big one for me is that, yes, on the surface, Feral are confirming here that on-release co-op will not be included, but we know how much of a big request that has been within the community again. But then they write on to say this: "We are, however, very aware this is a popular and requested feature and have taken it into consideration." So that may mean absolutely nothing, but at the same time it could be something very promising. And really, this game is perfect for online multiplayer campaigns, both co-op and versus. It's a new flavour for the game, obviously, and playing the game with mods between friends would be a fantastic experience to share that together, and not to mention how many potential more people could probably buy the game because of that feature. So I'm sure Feral will look into that a lot more as time goes on, and maybe in a future update we will get that opportunity to play co-op. And then if you link that to what they've said for the game's support post-launch, Rome Remastered will be supported post-release. We've had a long history of supporting our games post-released with patches, and Rome Remastered will be no different at all. So this bodes very well for the future of the game. Now, I don't think we'll ever see any new DLC for it. I don't think the budget will ever be there for such a thing. We'll only get what we've got so far. But in terms of fixes for bugs, ongoing rebalancing, and possible quality of life improvements within the game, well, judging by that statement, they're going to be definite. And then who knows, co-op could be implemented later on. I can't see it being too difficult to do, but then again, I ain't a programmer. However, the way they have spoken about the flexibility of mod support within Rome Remastered as well, even more so than the classic version, then even the modding scene could make a huge impact on the longevity of the game as well. And undoubtedly, however, if this is successful, I would love to see a Medieval 2 remastered version of the game, and I strongly believe that that would be a possibility, and actually I think it could even be more well received than this game, to be honest. But on the flip side, before we see the remastered version of Medieval 2, we possibly could see Medieval 3 before that, but that's for another video entirely. Anyway guys, that's all I've got to say for today's video. Hopefully it's giving you a bit more of an insight into what is going on behind the scenes, and hopefully you are going to enjoy these new quality of life features that have been implemented into the game, i.e. the colour vibrancy for the campaign map. And of course, if there is any more updates in the game from now until when it's released, rest assured I shall be there to cover it for you in a future video. But that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, take care and farewell.